York Jets first-round selection, fullback, Roger Vick, Texas A&M.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of Splittin Uprights. And today's episode is special because it marks our first ever guest appearance. And I could not think of someone more worthy to have on as our first guest than Texas's own and our own teammate, Gage Oppel. Gage, we've been wanting to have you on for a long time. We actually started this podcast with you in mind because, you're one of us in a way. So thanks for coming on, dude.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
You see what Drew just did?
Yeah,
Fuck the Cowboys.
I'm sure you put on an Odell shirt. It's nice that you picked a guy that doesn't even play for the Giants anymore because they're so fucking garbage.
Listen, my guy, I don't have the choice. I don't have the pleasure of being able to switch jerseys every year. I got to stick with the same assholes who I pick.
That's why you pick the ones that you think will stay.
I thought Odell would be there forever. What do you mean? Why would they give up that guy?
That dude's crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's a trash organization.
Antonio Brown did with the Patriots.
How many unwed mothers do you think Odell has left with bastard children?
Google might know the answer to that. I'm sure that number's out there. 13.
10 and a half? Is that under? 11?
So, Drew, why do we have Gage on today?
Today is a special segment where we get to roast Gage for being a Cowboys fan. We talked about it earlier this week that we were going to bring on our Cowboys executive and rip him up for being a Cowboys fan, and but also allow us to see the NFL through the eyes of a Cowboys fan.
Well,
you're all beneath me.
There's only one team in our hemisphere, in our sphere, that I actually think could maybe compete with the Cowboys, and that's the Colts.
Yeah, baby.
To be honest, if they had a quarterback that was worth a damn, then I would take the Colts over the Cowboys. But right now, I think Gage is supporting the best team in this here. So
I really think that the argument could be made that probably the Steelers are probably the next best team at this very moment.
Wow, fuck off.
How trash, hey Drew, how trash does your organization have to be for your quarterback to call it quits that early in the career?
I had nothing to do with the organization, my guy. Okay, we were on the right path. All I had to do was Andrew Luck was ready to be done. Understand his first couple of years he was getting hit, but it's all right. At least my quarterback doesn't want $40 million a year after being trash for basically 3-4 years in the league.
Top 5 statistical quarterback in the league, Drew.
Hey, does he have a ring?
No.
How many years has he made the playoffs?
What are we, two or three times? 2 times, I think.
I'm just saying. Luck was right there. We'd be Super Bowl contenders right now if Luck was here.
Yeah, okay. Sure. I'll hold on to that pipe dream.
I'm with Drew. I think they'd be pretty decent. But to call Dak a trash quarterback,
Couldn't even make it out of the
playoff record, but
bro, Houston beats y'all's cheeks every year. There's no way.
Hey, listen, man, it's all right. At least I don't have to make the playoffs every year, going 8-8, 9-7. At least, at least I made the playoffs whenever my team.
We get in how we get in.
Hey, all I'm saying is the Eagles shouldn't have made the playoffs out of the NFC East, and look where you at.
I can't argue that because they had no business making it out. Yeah.
Pookie, that was your motto for your sex life, right? You get in how you get in.
You could say that. I mean, if I had to find a way in, it could be, like some Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, dodging the lasers and the bank vault shit. Wow. Or you like on Ben Affleck in The Town and just go in running and gunning. So I have every way possible that I can get in there.
Gage, how is What's life like as a Cowboys fan right now? How are you feeling?
Optimistic, I guess. Because all right. So y'all have known me for a while, and I've been shitting on the coaching staff and the front office for a while. And so I put a lot of stock into the fact that I don't think it's the players. I think it's the fucking coaching that sucks. And so now we got new coaching. Management may still be horrible, but depending on how they do this year, with a new coach, if they suck, then then it's time to examine the players. But I genuinely don't think it's the players. I genuinely thought it's bad coaching. So if they do good, I'm right and I'm happy. But if they suck, then I'm like, all right, yeah, let's take a look at these players. Maybe let's not offer Dak $40 million a year.
Do you see a scenario in which Dak Prescott does not agree to a contract this year?
No, I actually don't. I think they'll figure something out. Because what has he said no to? He said no to 37 a year, was it? Something like that.
35 to 37, yeah.
Yeah. He said no to something like that, which is fine. Like, if he wants that money, this is the year to earn it. And so if he plays really well, I don't have a problem paying him that at all. But if he's shit in the bed and we're going 8-8 again with a whole new system, then we have to have a conversation at that point.
If y'all go 8-8, yeah, that's unacceptable for that roster, in my opinion.
Sorry, Pookie, go ahead.
Do you think that Mike McCarthy could turn the team around? I mean, Jason Garrett, I had more respect for him as a coach than a lot of people do. So I was kind of like, I still sort of believed in him a little bit. But do you think that Mike McCarthy can do a better job in his first year than Jason Garrett?
Yeah, I do. Because I think Mike McCarthy is more of a coach. I think Jason Garrett's a good coordinator. I don't think he's a good head coach. So I think Mike McCarthy will do a better job.
Well, what do you think with Mike when it comes to his relationship he had with Aaron Rodgers his last couple of years in Green Bay? I mean, it kind of looked like it was a bad relationship towards the end. And do you think having a young quarterback like Dak, someone who wants that money, do you think that'll have any, faults coming in?
I mean, I'm sure there'll be some disconnect because it's a whole new coach coming in. Jason Garrett's been a guy that he's worked with his whole career in terms of Dak Prescott. And so, a new guy coming in, there's obviously going to be there's going to be a learning curve for sure. And it may look a little rocky at first, but that's what the preseason is for, is ironing out that kind of stuff. And I never looked at when I watched Mike McCarthy coach, I hated the Packers. So I always looked at him with contempt. But now looking at it, I've wanted, I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of Cowboys fans here. I've wanted change for a long time as far as coaching goes. And so I'm definitely willing to give him a chance.
Do you think Jerry Jones never wanted to move on because his daughter or someone was getting piped by Jason Garrett?
Yeah, they're married or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what Jerry's deal is with coaches. It's so weird. With the whole Jimmy Johnson thing, Jimmy Johnson's probably a top 10 football coach of all time. And he was right. And they literally grew up together. They were roommates in college and stuff like that. And Jerry wanted to, after, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, Jerry kicked his ass to the curb. And that was it. And so I don't know what Jerry's deal is as far as what his mindset is when it comes to meeting with coaches. But I can't tell you what it was. That's the only explanation I think. That, or I have a theory that Jason Garrett, because Jason Garrett played on the Cowboys back in the day. So my theory is that Jason Garrett knew some crazy shit about Jerry Jones. And it had to have been real bad because with the amount of stuff that Jerry Jones lets be known about him publicly, it must have been pretty bad for him to have kept his job for so long.
Are you saying he has dirt? You think Jason Garrett has dirt on Jerry? Wow.
I mean, he's married into the family, dude. He probably knows a lot about. Yeah.
Think about it. So Jerry is your GM. He's also your father-in-law, which means not only do you have a front row seat to his shit show when you're at work, you also have a front row seat to it in your personal life.
Agreed.
What could he possibly know that Jerry Jones would say, nah, this cannot get out? Like, what is it that can't get out?
A lot. I mean, Jerry fucking Jones. He has a lot going on in his life. He has a lot of money. There's a
Well,
lot
like
doing in Dallas.
my thing is, I think it probably had to do with like something that probably would have gotten him in legal trouble with the league, because like Jerry doesn't care about hookers and prostitutes and all that.
Do
Do
you think he had a couple on draft night?
What do you mean a couple? Like some
Like a
some
couple
ladies? Oh
on
no
his yacht?
because this is what on his yacht. No. Although he is a pimp though, because you see how like he didn't even hold the phone whenever he was calling. He was calling recruits.
Yeah. True that. He is a pimp, man. We've talked about it many times. To make draft picks on that yacht was a big baller move, man. And he was flexing on the entire league.
I think he was too. Speaking of the draft, I think it was his best draft in a couple years.
Yeah, agreed. We've given props to them that I think with CeeDee Lamb falling to him, I think they took the best player available. We've all in agreeing that they probably didn't need CeeDee Lamb, but at that position to get a player to also steal him at the same time from the Eagles, because that's who they were trying to look at getting. It was kind of killing two birds with one stone in a sense. Now I don't know how we talked about. We don't know how much win percentage he has this year, and some of those tighter games, we don't know if he's going to make that much of a difference. We thought maybe adding a pass rusher or a DB would be more beneficial because they're weaker there.
When going into the draft, like I wanted a DB, and then I also wanted a lineman, which I don't trust Jerry Jones. This draft excluded. I don't trust Jerry when it comes to skill position players a lot, but when he wants to draft a no lineman, I'm usually pretty okay with it. And with Travis Frederick saying that he was out, I definitely thought like, okay, priority is definitely, the DBs. And then I think we need another lineman, especially since, we have an all-pro center walking out the door. But I agree, like, CeeDee Lamb dropping it, like you can't pass that up.
All right, Gage. So we'll leave the draft and let's talk about players you actually have on your roster right now. And obviously all the talk in Dallas has been about Dak Prescott and such. And I was actually thinking about this today while I was mowing the lawn, because that's where you get your best ideas, right? Would you rather have Dak on a 4-year, $160 million contract or sign Aaron Rodgers to a 2-year, $60 million contract?
Okay, well, I see there's definitely two sides to that argument, because I definitely understand how both could work. Aaron Rodgers has won a Super Bowl. He clearly knows what he's doing. Him and Mike McCarthy may not have a great history, but they have a history. And so the learning curve is definitely smaller than it would be with Dak. And I think you would see a lot of success. But, I mean, Aaron's closer to the end of his career than he is the beginning. Dak's closer to the beginning than he is to the end. I think for long-term success, I would rather pay Dak. If it came down to it, I would rather pay Dak. Because Dak's durable. I mean, he hasn't missed – he's missed one game or something or he hasn't missed a single game in his career so far. So the man's at least durable. I would say Dak. If it came down to it, I'd rather pay Dak.
But here's my thing with Dak. It's like I didn't have any problem with him whatsoever. I thought he has played pretty solidly in the games that they've lost. It hasn't always been his fault. I mean, yeah, he misses throws sometimes, but who doesn't? I mean, and what happens when you play the hand of God, which is Aaron Rodgers? I mean, you're going to get beat, unfortunately. That's what happens. He always finds a way to beat y'all. But
he does. I've bearing witness to it. Remember a couple years ago when they were playing the Cowboys in the playoffs in Cowboy Stadium? I remember we scored. There was like what left on the clock, like 2:14 left on the clock. I was like, that's too much time. And sure, and Byron Jones can't cover a goddamn tight end for 30 yards down the field, and we give it up, and then Mason Crosby hits a fucking field goal and we lose. I'll never forget that.
Listen,
But
man,
So, how old do you think Dak Prescott will be when he wins his first Super Bowl?
how old is he right now? He's 23. Is he 23? He's the same age as Zeke, isn't he? Zeke's 24, so he's probably 24 or 25. I bet he wins one before he's 30.
I doubt the Cowboys win a Super Bowl while he's their quarterback. And it's not because I don't believe in Dak as an organization or as a quarterback. I believe if you're going to pay Dak $40 million a year or however much he wants, you lose so many other options of signing elsewhere that are make your team better. The only player I see that makes it reasonable to sign him that much is a Patty Mahomes, because I think he can do it with anyone, and Dak's not on that level. Dak's not even an elite quarterback to me. Like it's like Patrick Mahomes, then you have elite quarterbacks, and then Dak's on that third tier for me. And I think he needs more than just him for them to win a Super Bowl in Dallas, at least.
I mean, I think this is the best team he'll probably have around him. I mean, even though this isn't even the best O-line in the last 5 years that he'll have, I mean, he's still got Zeke, which is, this is going to sound like Cowboys bias, but I really do think Zeke is probably the best running back in the league. It's got a great receiving core. It's not the best in the league because I think Tampa Bay owns the best receiving core in the league. But, Amari, you add CeeDee Lamb. I think once him and Gallup get on the right fucking page, they'll be unstoppable. I think Blake Jarwin's coming into his own. I think, and those are all young guys for the most part too. So I think if they can keep, I understand, the salary problem. I hope they meet in the middle on it, because if they do, I think it'll be really good for the next couple of years. And I think we'll have a real chance to win the Super Bowl.
The only thing is he's not worth the money. He's not. I mean, it's just plain and simple. He's not worth what I think he's in that range for. I mean, what does he do with the tag? 32, 33?
Yeah, something like that. It's the average of all the top five players at your position.
That's damn solid. That's damn solid for a guy who's not even on his second contract yet. Like, I don't know.
I mean, he could take the route of as a Kirk Cousins did, where they franchise tagged him for 2-3 years, like the Redskins, and then he goes signs a big deal. Obviously you want him to sign with the Cowboys, but I mean, in my opinion, right now this roster, if Dak for some reason was to be gone, he went to Cancun, never came back, and Andy Dalton was your quarterback, I still believe you're in the same boat, but probably 2 less wins that'll be losses.
I think with our schedule, I think the best case scenario for us on this schedule, if everything goes right, is 11-5, and I think the worst we could possibly do was 6-10. I think that would be the worst we could possibly do. I was talking a lot of shit about the Andy Dalton signing, because it was like, in my head, it was like putting pressure on Dak, but I really see it more as like an insurance policy, which isn't a bad one. Because I guess Andy Dalton, because I don't watch a lot of Cincinnati Bengals football, and who the hell does? People in Cincinnati, people in Cincinnati don't watch Cincinnati Bengals football. Well, they might this year because of Joe fucking Burrow, but
he had 2 years where they looked okay and he was playing okay, but he's been playing for one of the worst franchises that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, it's so inept. The offensive line is as bad as I've seen. The receiving core is next to nothing when A.J. Green's out. Tyler Eifert's always injured. He's had nothing to play with. When he gets to Dallas, to me, he gives y'all a viable option as a backup. And in a way, he probably does put pressure on Dak. In a way, it's like, hey, we can actually hold out this year. Like we can play the season without you if we have to.
Just like a Melvin Gordon did in Los Angeles with Austin Eckler. He held out, and they did just fine with the backup. I think Andy Dalton presents you guys with an option as, we can move on from Dak, and I think having that O-line and having a pocket passer is just as good at having Dak as a mobile quarterback. Jeez.
Well, so with the whole Dak contract thing, if he wants that money, we're obviously franchise tagging him this year. If he wants that money, this is the year to earn it. Because in the past, I think he was handicapped by the offense because we were so fucking predictable. We were going to run it on first down. We were going to try a short pass on second down. We were going to run it on 3rd and short and probably get stuffed. That was how it was going to go because we were so predictable. But now that he's got, a new thing coming in, I think this is his time to earn that money. And if he plays well, I have no problem with Jerry's like, here's your check. That's fine. I have no problem with it. But like I said, if he sucks, then, it's time to have a conversation. And I think Andy Dalton actually isn't a bad guy to bring in for that.
Dude, I'm telling you. All right,
I just think $40 million a year is completely unreasonable to me. I mean, you can't expect somebody to take that deal with, like Sandy was saying earlier, if you're going to lose out on other positions. It's like, yeah, you might have your quarterback locked down, but you're really not building your team any more than playing with an Andy Dalton.
Here's what I would want to know, Pookie, is what is the structure of Amari Cooper's contract? Because if you can somehow front load some of it, you pick up CeeDee Lamb in the draft. Do I make that contract any more appealing to anybody else out there who might want to take him on? Because I've got Gallup and Lamb now, and maybe I can go get – next year's wide receiver class is loaded too. I can go get another. But to me, Zeke's deal and Amari's deal separately hurt the Cowboys when you add the pressure to put Dak in there too. You're tying up so much cap space. And to me, you got – I think honestly in hindsight, the way the league's trending – you would go back and rescind Zeke's contract because paying running backs doesn't always work out. Gage, to be fair to you, I don't think he's the best running back in the league, but he's earned – I mean, he's right there. He's fantastic. It gives you an option running it and catching out of the backfield. But we've always said on the show, paying running backs doesn't always work out. But Cooper, I thought they overstepped a little bit for him. $100 million for, 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep all three.
To me, I can get rid of Cooper because I just brought in Lamb after this year. If someone wants to take on that contract, Jacksonville would be a place I'd be looking at just because they always take on these bad dudes. He's not bad.
If I had to pick an order to lose them all, I would want to lose Amari first because wide receivers are the easiest to replace. Then I would want to lose Dak because, the league is loaded with quarterback talent right now. Next year's draft is going to be a good quarterback year. And then I would say for third Zeke, but I wouldn't give up Zeke, at least right now.
Drew, do you hear – are those fire trucks, Drew? Are those fire trucks? That is that?
I think it's just Pookie.
Dude.
I mean, yeah, that's a very hot take. I think a lot of people would rather give up Zeke before Dak just for the sole purpose of the longevity of a quarterback over a running back. But I mean, living in Dallas, people do love Zeke here, and I mean, he is one of the driving forces. With the whole feed Zeke and the whole jumping in the Salvation Army Bowl, like he's
been eating.
Yeah, he's really big here in Dallas, and they love him here. So I mean, I get it, but I also think it's one of those things where it's like you're taking someone who after his contract's done, his career might be over. Not saying that I want it to be over or anything like that. That's just how long running backs last. They they last as long as all of us in bed, but it's not very long. So. Quarterbacks usually stay longer, and they can grow from being mobile to being more of a pocket passer as their career goes on.
Pookie's offended by that.
Pookie's the only one that didn't laugh.
I was like, speak for yourself, chump.
I like Kellen Moore, though. I'm a big fan of Kellen Moore, and I think the play calling did get better when he was there. Gage, honestly, I think there were times where I thought Jason Garrett may have taken over the play calling. I thought maybe he was getting fed up with some of the way they were doing, and he took over. I thought there were times where the play action game looked really good last year for y'all, and I think a lot of that was Kellen Moore. So I was really happy that he was retained. I think that I don't know when he was at Boise State, I just saw he was a genius, and he's always been smart. So I want to see what he can do in that position.
The thing I'm looking for out of the Cowboys this year is I want to see more of the read option because in the first place, it's the most unstoppable play in football. If you have two dudes that can run it, it's unstoppable.
When you have Lamar Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Dak may not have that Lamar Jackson speed, but he's definitely that big. And I'm not saying run the read option on our own 30. I mean, if you get inside the 25 and you're that close to the end zone, run the read option. You're probably going to get, 6 to 10 yards on it if you run it right. And it's we would do that. I remember I counted how many times we ran it like in a couple games last year. I think I never got above like 3, which is crazy to me that, because it worked so well every time we did. You see teams run it on the goal line and the quarterback will just walk into the end zone. Mm-hmm. And so, when you have a quarterback that's as big and as physical as Dak, because Dak will put his body out there and not be afraid to do it. And, if you need a touchdown and you're, within the 25, he'll go get it for you if he runs it. And so that's the big play that I'm really hoping that we implement more this year is, the read option type of stuff. I also want,
talking about me when he said he puts his body out there for next to nothing. Like, I don't know. Pookie, you wanted to bring up the linebackers. You like them a lot.
Yeah, I'm really infatuated with the Cowboys linebacking core with Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, and Sean Lee.
Spike Lee.
Yeah, Spike Lee playing linebacker for the Cowboys. I think that all 3 of them are very impressive and that they should be talked about more as an elite linebacking core. I know Sean Lee is a little bit older, but you still have 2 young guys in Smith and Vander Esch that are physical, fast linebackers, can cover in space. They can pretty much do anything that you ask them to. And my whole thing with them is that, like, why aren't they talked about as one of the elite linebacking cores, and how come they haven't transformed the Cowboys into an elite defense?
I think it's because when you see, these great teams that are going, 12-4 and 13-3, it's because they have these great defenses. And when you have a 13-3 or a 12-4 record, people can be like, that defense is great. They've only lost 4 games. They're giving up X amount of points. But like, when you have an 8-8 team like the Cowboys, the defense, suffers because, they're giving up, they have 8 losses. Their defense is trash, that kind of thing. But I do so the new Cowboys DC, what's his name? Mike Norvell, something like that.
That's Florida State's head coach. But
Yeah, not him. The new DC, he wants to flip it. I think the Cowboys ran a 4-3 traditionally this last year, and now I think the guy they're bringing in runs a 3-4.
Mike Nolan.
Mike Nolan. Yeah,
should be.
So I think it should have been Chris Richard. I do agree. I think he runs a 3-4, and if you run a 3-4, you need really athletic outside linebackers. And I think at this point in Sean Lee's career, he doesn't have that athletic edge anymore. And the man really, if they really wanted to keep Sean Lee on the field, they could move him to interior and then maybe put, Vander Esch and Jalen Smith on the outside because they're young and they can run. Because, y'all watch games. You've seen how they run sideline to sideline. I think they could do really well in that. But for a while now, I've thought ever since Sean Lee started getting hurt, every other game that he played, I've thought it was time for him to pick up a headset and, coach the line. Because I think he would be a great linebackers coach. Because, he may get hurt, but he definitely knows the position really well.
We saw that on All or Nothing on the Amazon series. I thought he was really good there.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that on All or Nothing when he was hurt, they showed him pretty much interacting as a coach with some of those younger linebackers in Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch.
I thought, Gage, I was texting Blake throughout the draft, especially when CeeDee Lamb kept falling. I kept asking him, "What are you thinking here? What are you thinking?" And he said, "CeeDee Lamb." I was for sure going into the draft. I thought you were going Xavier McKinney. I thought you were going safety.
For sure. I definitely going in, like I said, I definitely wanted a DB. I thought that was top priority for us because the Cowboys, we have a lot of defensive back turnover, and there's really no reason for it because it's not like the NFC East is loaded with receivers. And so there's really no reason for us to be that bad at defensive back. And so I definitely thought, a safety or a great corner would, really boost it because as far as the hot boys are going to get theirs. The D-line is pretty damn good. The linebacking core is pretty damn good, but it's always been the DBs that suffered. If I was an opposing OC playing against the Cowboys, I probably wouldn't run the ball. I'd throw it all game long. and just wear the DBs out because they're bad. They're trash. And so getting a DB I thought was the top priority coming in. But like like I said, if CeeDee Lamb's there, you can't pass CeeDee Lamb up.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys had a top cornerback in Byron Jones and you let him walk. But again, that's the whole money restrictions on whether you want to pay Dak, and they had to pay Cooper this year and everything. But getting someone
Byron Jones couldn't cover a tight end 30 yards down the field. I'm glad his ass walked. It cost me a fucking playoff game.
He was still regarded as one of the top tight ends in the league right now. So losing someone like that, I think, is pretty big for y'all. But getting someone like a Diggs in the second round from Alabama, I think, was really big.
Yeah, I agree. You can't really go wrong because where do the best DBs come out of?
SEC.
Alabama, Ohio State, places like that.
You can't disrespect LSU. You have to say LSU.
DBU.
I mean, yeah, LSU for sure. I was gonna leave it at that because you said the SEC.
True.
But I mean, these guys come in and they're willing to learn, and the game of football is definitely transitioning to throw the damn ball. Especially in college. Like college, it's already there. The NFL is playing catch up. So these guys, their the talent ceiling is going to go through the roof in the next couple of years, for sure.
I will say having a DB's coach like Chris Richard, coming from Seattle when he was there at the Legion of Boom, and then coming to Dallas now, even with mediocre guys, they played above their talent level just because of him. And so I think I was personally surprised when he didn't get the DC job because he was already there. He was established with the Seahawks before, and he came to Dallas and really made a difference on a below average defense and made them, a slightly above average, at least at the DB stance. But I think having someone like him on your coaching staff really allows for mediocre guys to play better than what they are.
I agree. I was very surprised. I was surprised at a lot of the coaching hires, honestly, because I didn't expect Mike McCarthy to get the job. I thought, who was Denver's OC? I can't remember his name. I thought he was going to get the job. And so Mike McCarthy was a surprise to me. And then Chris Richard not getting the DC job was also a big surprise to me. I definitely thought that he was a shoo-in for it because, Rob Marinelli says that he's the DC, but he will publicly say, he will be the first to tell you that Chris Richard runs the defense. And so I think it'll be really hard. We talk about it'll be hard to retain Dak, Amari, and Zeke. I think it's going to be hard to retain Chris Richard. Even if he was with the Legion of Boom in Seattle, being with Jason Garrett and going 8-8 every other year probably doesn't do you a whole lot of favors.
Listen here, Gage. I know your team is probably one of the most mediocre teams in the league. So how does it always feel coming out and always having these mediocre seasons right after, season after season, and with all these high hopes? How does that feel?
Out fucking standing because we're the best team in our division and we're gonna win the fucking Super Bowl every year. You can't talk shit, Drew. You're not even the best team in your division.
This year we are, my God. This year we are.
You're not. As long as Deshaun Watson is on the fucking Texans, you are not.
Yikes. He doesn't know much about the Texans then.
Yeah. I don't know. Pookie, to me, it seems like he's got it flipped because I feel like I can make a better argument for the Eagles being a better team, and I can make a case for the Colts being the best team in the South. So, I don't know.
No way.
Eagles are a better team.
The Eagles are the best team in the NFC East by far.
Yeah, that's big cap.
If they're
that's
healthy.
What the kids call it.
Hey, if the Cowboys are healthy too, they lost Vander Esch last year and they lost Sean Lee and they were not great on defense and it really killed them. All I'm saying is year in, year out, all I hear is in Dallas is we're going to the Super Bowl. We're winning this, we're winning that. And then they come out with an 8-8 year. How does that feel every year?
I mean, it's not fun. And it hasn't been fun ever since 2008 when Jason Garrett's bitch at ginger ass took over. And so, I've fought through it. It's really hard. It's been really hard being a Cowboys fan for the last 11 years. And so I fought through it. I've sat through 8-8 seasons for 13-3 seasons. just to get bounced by the fucking Green Bay Packers.
Speaking of the NFC East, man, who do you have winning it this year?
So in order, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. Then I'm gonna go with. See this part. The Giants are gonna be last. That's for sure. I have the Cowboys first, the Giants last.
Wait, what?
Hold up. Time for the second bet.
And
yeah,
then,
you want to put that on record, my friend?
Yeah, I will. I think the Redskins will be better than the Giants this year.
You're smoking dick.
I think it'll probably be Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, Giants. Cowboys go 10-6. Eagles go 9-7. Redskins go 5-11. Giants go 4-12.
So with the Eagles going 9-7, do you have two teams coming out of the NFC East of the playoffs, or do you just have the Cowboys?
I don't think so, because I think the Bucs will be the wild card out of the NFC
South.
And then I think the Rams will probably be the wild card.
Think about San Francisco or Seattle. One of those is a wild card already.
They're a lock.
Yeah, that's a lock.
That's true. That's true. I think San Francisco will win the division. I bet Seattle comes out as the wild card. That's yeah.
But
you're right.
you know this year that they're having 7 teams, so that way there'll be 3 wild card teams.
You're right. If that's the case, I guess the Eagles will make it. But if they're 9-7, I think Seattle will probably have a better record. I'm sure Tampa Bay will probably have a better record. So that means they're playing. Who would they play first round then?
They would play division leader, either the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th seed. So they'd play either the winner of one of the 3 divisions. Depends on who you have as in the number 1. So if you have like the Saints at the number 1 or the Niners, then they'd either play the NFC North winner, the NFC South or West winner, and then they probably wouldn't play the NFC East winner, but maybe.
Yeah. So they would probably play either the Saints or the 49ers, and I don't think they win either one of those games.
I mean, if Jameis is quarterback in the Saints, maybe you have a shot. Which is, I don't
know. That town would be crazy to play Jameis Winston.
It may not be up to Sean Payton on that one, Gage. I don't know. Things are getting crazy. What I would say is do not sleep on the Falcons.
Cardinals.
The Rams. I mean, even the Cardinals. So I feel like Drew, Gage, you probably hear this, but Drew said he thinks the West and the South have a better chance of winning 3 teams in the playoffs than the East does too.
I mean, I would probably agree with that. The NFC East has been a doormat for the entire 2010s. Remember, when y'all were watching football from 2000 to 2010, do you remember like on Sunday Night Football when oh my God, I can't remember either one of their names off the top of my head. The guys who do – say that again?
Who?
The guys who do Sunday Night Football on NBC.
Oh,
Al Michaels.
Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do y'all remember them being like, the NFC East is the best division in football?
Yeah.
It's the most – and then, it hits 2011, and we're trash. We're terrible. And we went from the penthouse to the outhouse in 3 years. It's horrible.
But my bet was solely on the fact that the Eagles would get in out of the NFC East. The Cowboys would be outside looking in.
I don't know if 9-7 gets you in necessarily. It'd be tough.
If 9-7 gets you in, you have to have a tiebreaker over another team in a division, either an outright win or some however they do the tiebreakers. I don't know how they do them anymore because of the whole new thing. But that's the only way I see a 9-7 team getting in, is if another 9-7 team from another division has a similar record and they have them outbeat.
I mean, it's really hard for me to have like a full formulated opinion because I don't know. Because, whether or not people want to admit it, coaching does matter. And so it's really hard for me to have a full-fledged formulated opinion on how the Cowboys will do specifically versus division opponents with a whole new coaching staff, because I don't know how Mike's going to approach. Because Jason Garrett, I feel like, went in the game saying, like, we're going to do our thing and we're not going to make shit adjustments. We're not going to adjust a damn thing. And so depending on what Mike does and how, like I said, I'm putting a lot of stock into the coaching changes. So if things go different, that's great. It's awesome. We do better because, coaching is different. But if not, then it's time. Then we got to check out the players and what the hell's going on.
All right, Gage, we're running out of time here on the show, but we have time for one last question, and we're gonna go outside of football, and we're gonna include some basketball in this one.
Okay.
In your opinion, who is more likely to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done, Ezekiel Elliott or Luka Doncic?
Luka Doncic. And maybe because, as much as I love the Cowboys, I love the Mavs more. I love the Cowboys more so because it pisses all my friends off and it pisses the world off because we're the team. We're the Lakers of the NFL. We're the team everybody loves to hate, which, it's fine by me. I love being on that side. But I love the Mavs out of the pure goodness of my heart. And so, yeah, I do think Luka will be a Hall of Famer. I'm sure they'll both be. I bet they both are. But I'm sure Luka will be, the more decisive, I guess, is the way to put it.